Hey everybody, it's Dom Griffin, your favorite film critic, and you're watching The Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series where I talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, television series, reviews, that sort of thing. So if you like movies, and you like movie-adjacent popular culture, and you like to see somebody pick those things apart, congrats, you're in the right place, and you should consider subscribing. Sunday, August 27th is set to be 2023's National Cinema Day, which is a recently annual holiday where the NATO, not that one, the National Association of Theater Owners get together and pick a holiday to promote people going to the movies. And on this day, every major participating movie theater chain is offering tickets of any type, any format, whatever, for $4 all day, the whole day, every movie, no exceptions. $4 ticket day. That sounds great. That's cool. People like deals. Nothing's wrong with that. This week, though, when it got announced, I spoke to a guest at my job, my day job. I work in a movie theater, I run a movie theater. About this, I mentioned, it's like, yeah, Sunday is Cinema Day. It's pretty cool. And when I said tickets would be $4, he was like, that's how much they should be. I didn't really know what to say to that. I hear stuff like this on a literal daily basis and have for nearly 15 years. But he was adamant, like, no, that's what movie tickets should cost. And I just have a lot of thoughts about that. When I was born, the average movie ticket price in 1986 was $3.71. In 2004, when I was in high school, when I was going to the movies the most maybe in my life, it was $6.21. Last year, it was $11. So what happened exactly? Well, I'm going to loosely reference like some studies and stuff, and I might throw some graphs behind me and stuff like that and some numbers. This is not going to be like a detailed economic breakdown of the financial history of like exhibition or anything like that. It's not anything like that whatsoever, actually. Please don't. If you came for that, go find someone who's going to be better at that than me. What this is going to be is a relatively personal and sort of impassioned, I guess you can call it a rant, people like that. And it's just going to be my personal perspective, a lot of anecdotal, whatever. For me, as a guy who has been a lifelong consumer of movies, who has spent 15 years working in the exhibition industry, and a guy who's a professional film critic. So it's my specific perspective. I don't want to get any kind of weird arguments with people in the comments about like economic stuff. I don't want to do that. I have no interest in doing that. If you come to me and ask me to do that, I will ask you to turn your location on, and I will probably come throttle you. At the theater that I personally run, the general admission ticket is $15. And I know that's kind of steep. A lot of people think of that as steep. And that irritates me. And the reason it bothers me is because people have this weird, skewed perspective on what the cost of a movie should be. Everyone agrees that it's too expensive. Everyone agrees that it's too much. But they don't ever think about why it costs what it costs and like what goes into. They just don't think about these things. And like, that's acceptable. I understand. There's a lot of factors into why the movie ticket price keeps going up and why it's like skyrocketed in like the last few years. Like there was a larger period of growth in the average ticket price in the last few years, even before COVID hit, than there was every previous year before that, right? And there's a lot of factors, right? Obviously, one big one is that movies themselves cost more than ever. Back when Avatar: The Way of Water came out, I went back and rewatched True Lies. Well, watched True Lies for the first time ever. And it was interesting to me that at the time it was made, True Lies was like the most expensive movie ever. And now that would be like not a big deal at all. Like True Lies you could make today and it would not seem exorbitant in any way, shape, or form. But obviously we have a lot of big blockbuster movies. Studios have to follow the profit incentive. They're more interested in spending $300 million to try to make $1 billion than they are spending $10 million to try to make $20 million. Like I get it, whatever, that's a bigger thing maybe for another video. At the same time, obviously you have streaming services and the pandemic and people thinking more and more about not leaving the house to go see movies and watching things at home and having the option to watch things at home. Televisions are getting bigger, nicer televisions are getting less expensive. Like there's all these crunching factors, right? Now, if I'm going to place some of the blame on studios and how they make these big blockbuster movies and don't want to make money off of smaller movies, and that whole complaint that every person on film Twitter makes like 10 times a day, I know I'm one of them. I also have to acknowledge that there are genuine problems with the theatrical model, right? Like movie theaters are not what they used to be. Projection is not what it used to be. Cleanliness of the plant is not what it used to be. The seats, like everything is like not as good as it used to be. Like there's no more like pristine movie houses that are perfectly maintained and beautiful, and like the screens are great and the projections are great, all these things. Like there's a lot of things that have happened to the theatrical industry over the last 20 years that have crunched those things away. The switch to digital, the fact that no one takes digital projection that seriously, and like things can be bad and just no one cares. Like there's a lot of problems. And like I look at that from my perspective because it's my day job. But people don't look at that. Regular people don't give a shit about that when they go to the movies. If you go to the movies and something is wrong, you don't want to hear about profit loss statements. You don't want to hear about how this quarter was bad, so you can't afford to get this thing fixed or whatever. That's just not, it doesn't matter to the consumer, and I totally get that. But as someone who does this every day, like, you guys got to understand something. Like, working in this industry, it's like, when things are down, it's like things are really down and they really suck. And you have to like penny pinch and do all these things to save money so that operating the business is like doable. Then you don't just shut down. But then when things get better, even when like the numbers are great, you'll have a week where you had like thousands of people in your building and you feel great. You gave them all popcorn and candy and soda and chicken nuggets and whatever. And you think things went really well. And then you look at your numbers and you're like, oh no. When you factor in like building rent and utilities and food costs and everything else, you're like, oh, actually, this wasn't good either. The margins in running a movie theater are so terrible. Most of the money that comes from ticket sales, a majority of it goes to the studio. And then we have to overcharge you for candy and popcorn, and people hate that, and they think we're criminals. But it's like, it's just what it takes to maintain this thing. But I feel like people used to not be as bothered by that. I think a lot of it is psychological. And for me, a big thing about how we got here, we have to go back to like the past, right? A lot of what's been on my mind has been my personal movie-going habits and how they've changed over the course of my lifetime, right? And that made me think of other habits of mine that changed over the course of my lifetime, namely the purchasing of music. So when I was a teenager, the only three things I spent money on, I bought a lot of comic books, was music and movies. Like, I bought albums and I went to the movies, and I bought, like I said, a lot of comics. I was a fucking nerd. But back in the day, it was not weird to me at all to go into a store and like look at CDs, and then, having heard maybe a part of a song, spend like $10 to $15 on an album, like, or whatever. Like, prices varied back then, I guess. They were cheaper in certain places, but like, you could spend that amount of money and you'd walk out with an album. You'd go home, you listen to the whole thing, and you might discover you only like 3 songs on it, but you bought it already. You own it. That's the thing. And that was not weird. I never thought that was like unfair, because that was the norm. And then obviously Piracy, Napster, all these things came in where people were just getting all the music they wanted for free. And I mean, I was one of them. I've pirated a lot of things in my life. Then the music industry moved on to like the streaming platforms, right? We moved to the subscription model of paying a certain amount a month, which you would pay for one album back in the day per month, to listen to like every album. And that's what happened. Like, piracy changed the way people consume music, the ideal value of music. And now we're in this world where you pay a certain amount of money and you just have access to all of it whenever you want. Because technically you've kind of always had access to all of it whenever you want if you're stealing it. And this is like the half measure. This is like the people that need to make the money off of music coming to the consumer and being like, look, I know it's easier than ever to steal all this shit, so please give us this. This is the amount of money we're working to agree to. Like, you can spend this much. We'll give you all the music. Please stop stealing it. And like, that's, I guess, largely worked or whatever. I'm not as knowledgeable about the music industry, so don't hold me to that stuff. Anyone who knows more than me in the comments. But something similar happened to movies, but like different, right? Obviously movies got pirated just as much as music did. People pirate movies to this day. But the streaming apparatus, the idea of having these streaming services where you can stream movies at home, on your computer, on your TV, whatever, these streaming platforms, in my mind, sort of changed things disproportionately to the way that streaming platforms in music changed music, right? Because someone can listen to music they like on Spotify and like, they still will be willing to go to see a concert, right? They'll still go to the live, big spectacle version of the music, and they'll pay a lot of money to go see several people on a stage, sometimes just one person on a stage, and they'll spend 10 to 100 times what they would pay for a movie ticket to see this. Just a bunch of people on a stage, as big as it is, whatever. And that's not weird. But the idea of someone who listens to music nowadays, or like a younger person who doesn't remember life before Napster, the idea of telling them, oh, do you like that album? You should pay $15 for it, and you're not going to get a cool vinyl to put on your wall. They're like, what? Why would I do that? But with movies, it's like, people can watch movies at home. They can watch them on their television, whatever. But the idea of the going to see whatever the concert version of a movie would be, right? Like an IMAX presentation of a giant blockbuster spectacle or something. Even that they think is unfair. Even that they think is like, no, that's still too much. It costs too much. Like, they don't, it's like this weird disconnect. I'm not going to get into the studies and stuff of it all, but like, there's been multiple studies that show that compared to every other form of entertainment, going to a sporting event, going to the theater, going to a concert, going to whatever the fuck people do outside, all of those things cost more than going to the movies. And people are just like cool with it. especially in today's like economically crunched times, people talk all the time about how expensive things are and about how you can't go out of the house without spending money. Like, I walked out of the house, I spent this much money. But like, the idea of going to a movie theater and parting with like $10 to $20 to see a film for a few hours it feels like unjust. They sense that it is an unjust thing. And if we're going to talk about people's perceptions changing about what a ticket costs, we have to talk about the Summer of MoviePass. So a few years ago, several years ago, time is terrible for me, before the pandemic, when MoviePass was raging and was such a huge phenomenon. MoviePass was basically a subscription model that tried to take what Netflix did with streaming platforms as a disruptor to the real world, to the theatrical space. And it had a very simple concept. They would charge people a monthly fee, and then you'd get to see as many movies as you want in a given month. The problem is they flew like a little bit too close to the sun, and they created whatever the opposite of a value proposition is. They lowered the monthly subscription charge to being $9.99 a month, and you could see a movie every day. So you could see 30 movies. So you could spend $300 to $400 worth of movie tickets, and you'd pay $10. And they thought, well, most people that are going to use the subscription service aren't actually going to use it. They're just going to like want to, but never go. But then they made it $10. So people started going. And I worked at a theater at this time, and it was hell. Because the idea for MoviePass is they were like, we're going to make so much money because all the people that use it are barely going to use it. So that's not going to be a big deal. And then we're going to bring so much business to the theater chains that they will have no choice but to cut us in on their concession sales. And there's two problems with that. One, no chain was going to do that. That was not going to happen. That was like, no, never going to happen. But then two, the other problem was that they weren't actually generating concession sales. They were bringing people to the theater. But because they already felt like they were getting over and like getting a movie essentially for free, it felt like, they didn't want to spend any more money either. I had to make like charts at work to show my bosses that like every day that we have this percentage of people who came from MoviePass, here are our sales. Like, they just walk right by the fucking stand. They don't even look at it. I could be offering free blowjobs. They just keep going. So MoviePass failed, like, badly. It's back, but like it was essentially a failure. Like, they were losing money hand over fist. They failed. But at the time, people, again, psychologically were like, well, we should get to pay $10 a month to see movies all month. Why not? And it's like, no.
Give me my dignity. I just came here to see Honk If You're Horny in peace.
Sir, if you just quiet down, I'd be happy to treat you to a garbage bag full of popcorn.
So I want to be a little bit fair about this. A lot of this video is me being frustrated with people not understanding the value of a movie ticket. So full disclosure, I have to be very honest here. I have worked, like I said, in a movie theater for nearly 15 years, and I've been a critic for like 10. I don't pay to see a lot of movies. I just don't. I see movies for free at screenings as press. And then I can see movies for free at work. So almost anything that we play, like, you know, for a very long time, I worked at an art house theater. So I saw all the indie stuff, all the Sundance stuff, all the IFC stuff for free. And then if I wanted to see something with giant robots in it, I would have to go to a mainstream theater to see those films. And I would pay at those times. But then I became a critic, and then I wouldn't even pay for those times. I would just review those movies, and I get to see them for free early, which was nice. As a result, I am not a person who pays to see movies. And in some ways, I know that probably invalidates my argument here, right? Because people think, well, what do you care? You don't even pay at all. Why do you have an opinion about this? But I wasn't always, okay? Like, growing up, I was a person who went to the movies all the time, like as a kid. Like I said, that was like my thing to do. And then even as an adult, I still like going to the movies. So pretty recently, a few weeks ago, I had planned to do, after I said all this stuff in my Oppenheimer video where I said, don't go do the Barbenheimer double feature, I had a day off where I was bored, and I was going to do it just to see what it was like, and I was going to make a video about it. And then I was going to go to this AMC in Georgetown because I wanted to see Oppenheimer in Dolby. And when I went to go buy the 2 tickets for it, it was like, it'll be cheaper if you just get AMC A-List Stubs, just do the Stubs thing. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just do it, whatever. And the reason I never had paid for AMC Stubs before, as I said, is why I would never use it. Essentially, it's not something that I would even think to use. But I don't go to the movies now unless I'm going to a press screening, or unless I absolutely need to see something and I watch it at work. And I don't really like watching movies at work. I work there. It's like I live there, basically. It's like watching movies at home for me, essentially. You know what I mean? So if I want to go see a movie, I want to go to like another theater chain, and that costs money. So I thought maybe I'll check this out, see what's up. I ended up not going to do that double feature. I didn't go. Something happened. A friend was in town. I went and hung out with him instead, which was really cool. It was a great time, obviously, but whatever. I forgot that I had AMC Stubs. Like, I paid for a month of it, and the month was almost up, and I hadn't used it at all. I'm the ideal customer for a subscription service like this, right? They're the people that are going to pay for it, not use it. But I was like, oh no, fuck that. I'm going to use it. So this weekend, I went to the movies, and I was there. I did like an AMC A-List Stubs triple feature. I was watching the movies the whole goddamn day. So I do want to say very quickly here, I have a lot of thoughts about the movies I watched this weekend. I watched like 10 movies this weekend, but I'm going to save that all for the pod. So if you guys have not tapped into my new podcast, Your Favorite Film Critic, which is hosted here on the channel and every other place podcasts are, new episodes come out every Friday at noon. And this week I'm going to talk about all the movies I watched. It's like 10 whole movies. So if you haven't tapped in yet, this is going to be like the perfect episode to do that. So if you want to hear my thoughts about all these things that I'm about to say that I saw, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be really fun. Every week I talk about what's going on in the news. I talk about movies I watched, and I answer your guys' questions, and we have a lot of fun conversations. So again, if you haven't tapped into the pod, tap into the pod. It's going to be a good time. I'll be talking about the movies I watched and my actual experiences as like a Stubs customer and stuff like that there. So yes, again, it's going to be here on the channel, like a light video version. And then if you can't stare at my face for too long without being utterly consumed by lust, we have an audio only version, and it's on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those places. Okay. There'll be a link in the description. But anyway, I went to this AMC and I watched 3 movies for free. I didn't spend a dime the entire day. I didn't even buy popcorn, which I know is bad for their per cap. But I watched 3 movies. It's $20 a month. I could do that 4 times a month, basically. It's like you get 3 free movies every week. And if I just picked one day of the week to just go to the movies all day, this would be a great value proposition for me personally. I don't have like kids. I tend to go to the movies by myself, so I don't have to worry about like a companion price or something like that. And AMC made it very simple for me. And it's because they basically took MoviePass's model and made it make sense. Unlike MoviePass, it's dialed into the actual movie theater you're going to. It works seamlessly in the app. Their customer service is AMC's customer service. Everything about it was like flawless and fluid. I've never been an AMC guy because I currently live across the street from a Regal. I've always lived closest to a Regal in my life, actually. So this whole AMC Stubs thing is like new to me, but I was like very converted. Like, I've always personally loved the Nicole Kidman ad, but I am subjected to the movie quotes ad, and now I feel like I'm like switching. Like, this almost feels like what it felt like when I switched to like Apple from Android for the first time. I don't know. AMC Stubs A-List is like really cool, is actually what I'm saying here. This is, in the middle of this rant, I'm just telling you that if you have feelings about movie tickets and them costing too much, you should probably get Stubs. Like, it's a really good deal. I also went to the Alamo Drafthouse this weekend, which was different, but they have like a season pass thing too that I was considering maybe trying, because they do a lot of like rep stuff that I actually really like. But then I saw that like you have to pay their ticketing fees, and like I don't think it's as good a value proposition as AMC Stubs Life. This is not going to be me comparing all the subscription services, actually. I know there's like a bunch of videos on YouTube of people doing that. I haven't tried all of them. There's another quick aside, this video has a lot of tangents. While I was researching some of this stuff and seeing about other subscription model services, I saw that Regal has one, but I don't want to do it because I don't like the Regal across the street from my house. But it made me think about how growing up, I went to this Regal in Sterling, Virginia all the time. It was the Regal Cinema Countryside 20, and it was like my favorite place to be. Like, I lived there practically. I saw so many movies there. I have so many good, happy memories in my life there. Just like a beautiful time in my life of being a teenager and going to the movies and discovering a lot of independent film for the first time, because they played a lot of cool indie stuff, and then going to see big movies. I saw Sin City there. I saw Kings of New York. Like, any cool movie. I saw Tobey Maguire, like the first Tobey Spider-Man movie, 3 times opening weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at this theater. I wrote a 1-act play set outside this theater when I was in high school, that my drama teacher told me was too vulgar, but whatever. I was really a mammoth at the time. Anyway, I have a lot of really good memories at that place, and I just discovered in the course of working on this video that it got demolished recently. Like, it literally doesn't fucking exist anymore. I haven't been at Sterling in I don't know how long. And that's never happened to me, this sort of thing. Like, that place is just super fucking gone now. It's not like they turned it into a different chain. It's not like they turned it into, like, it's just gone. And It's just gone. I don't know. It's affecting me more than I expected. I feel weird. But if you guys have like a favorite theater that you go to or you have a lot of memories that means a lot to you, maybe just like a little moment of silence for that place in your heart. But anyway.
I could never be with anybody who doesn't take politics as seriously as I do.
Do you mind?
A hot dog is singing. You need quiet while a hot dog is singing?
You guys don't need me if you watch this channel to tell you that movies are important, that going to the movies is important, and all of those things. Like, whatever. I assume that maybe you believe that. If you clicked on this because I made a cool thumbnail after I record this, then I'm sorry if I hoodwinked you. But look, every time you go to the movies and you complain to the guy selling you the fucking ticket that the tickets cost too much, you're essentially looking that man in the eye and telling him that, like, he is wasting his life by doing this. You are looking at these people and you're just discounting everything that goes into the experience that you're about to have. Everything costs more than it used to, and often more than it should. And yet, we largely accept it. Once a week, I get sad about the dollar menu being gone from McDonald's, but, like, that's over now. I have to live with that. I don't tell the McDonald's guy every time I see him that a McChicken used to cost $1. It doesn't fucking matter anymore. That's over. Most of us are making less than our worth in our jobs. Like, a lot of us are just not getting paid what we deserve, obviously. Like, that's an inescapable fact. I understand the crunch, like, more than most people. Like, I'm a perpetually broke, trying to get out of debt person. I understand. But to be transported out of that misery, out of the weight of these realities, maybe it's not priceless, but I think that we should get together and acknowledge that it's a worthy investment. If you disagree, the industry has offered you compelling alternatives. Theaters have absorbed the crazy MoviePass subscription model and made it workable for people, I think. And they have discount days. There's all these things that the industry is doing and adapting to try to appease you, to try to appease people and get them to not give up on the theatrical model. I don't think it can be overstated. The amount of power and majesty, really, that comes with going to the movies, okay? When I go to the movies, I think about Roger Ebert calling it, like, the great empathy machine. And when I go to the movies and I sit in a chair, a flip top, a recliner, whatever the fuck kind of seat they have, when I sit in the seat, I feel like every one of my soul's pores widens and gets larger. And I feel like I am more porous and I can absorb more emotion and more feelings and more energy than I can anywhere else in my life. And it feels good. It feels good to come outside of yourself and look at something bigger than yourself, even if it's like, it doesn't have to be fucking Transformers killing each other, or like some kind of, like, Dune. It doesn't have to be Dune. It can just be two people's faces really big on a screen, and it's an escape, man. It's a portal to something that is, like, beautiful. When you go to a movie theater, even the shittiest movie theater, that operation is lubricated by the blood, sweat, and tears of people who live that. That's just what they do. Everything they do in their day is designed to try to help you escape, to help you transport yourself away from your pain. And the movies themselves are produced by the same astronomical labor. It takes thousands of people to make a movie. It takes almost like dozens, hundreds, of whatever of people to run a good movie theater, even a mediocre movie theater. Let's be honest here. Okay, it's so much goes into it. So many people, so many mouths to feed out of this operation, out of this production, all these things. And I just think that if you think $15 is too much, you should either not go. No one's going to stop you if you stop coming. It's okay if you don't want to go. No one's making you. No one is putting you in a Fujiwara armbar and making you go see Barbie. Okay? But please just, in return, stop complaining about the price to these people, to their faces. Please. Unless you plan on doing that everywhere else you spend money. If you plan on doing this at your local bodega, at the nail salon, if you plan on doing this Everywhere you go, whatever the fuck it is you spend money on, every time you have to fucking put your card down or your Apple Watch or whatever, I want you to look the guy in the eye and be like, oh, this used to cost this. I want you to give every merchant an unsolicited history of what things used to cost. Do that everywhere if you're going to do it here to us. Maybe someone's going to watch this and think that this sounds pathetic, but some of the happiest moments of my life happened in a movie theater. And I don't think you have to be as like diehard a cinephile as me for you to echo that statement earnestly. And I think if you are denying that, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to us. Like, you know how much joy you felt in these spaces. That costs money. Everything costs money. That's a problem. Like, I don't like capitalism, but like that's where we live. What we live under. And if you're gonna go and you're gonna get this escape from that, you're gonna go and get this like beautiful thing that is the movies. I think try to like appreciate it like a fucking little bit, you know, and like, you know, if you're gonna sneak stuff in, just don't leave trash behind you. You know, little stuff, little social contract stuff. I love the movies, and I love you guys, but I just want people to like be for fucking real. That's all. Movie tickets are never gonna go back to being like fucking $4. All right. Except on National Cinema Day, this Sunday on August 27th, where they're gonna be $4 the whole fucking day. So I guess bring your brood to go see Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. It's good. Really good movie. You and your girls get together, see Barbie for the first time if you haven't done it yet, or the third time, fuck it. Or hey, take your dad to Oppenheimer. He loves World War II shit. But when you go, think about how much you love these experiences and that you should keep doing them even when it's not $4. Okay? I don't want the movies to go away, man. That's all. So this is a bit of a weird video, but those are my feelings. I had a lot of stuff I wanted to get out. I have a lot more to talk about on this subject on my weird movie weekend that I spent the entire weekend watching movies on the pod this Friday. Your favorite film critic. Check out the pod. Also, if you have any things you want to ask me or comments and stuff, I'll talk about them on the episode this week. I love the Q&A part of the pod a lot. So if you have any questions about anything you want to ask me there. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, subscribe. Hit the little bell icon so you get notifications when I put out new videos, which, as you see, we're trying to put out more videos more consistently around here. And if you have any thoughts about this, put them in the comments below. Even if it's just to tell me that I'm being irrational or whatever, or you disagree, that's cool too. Disagreement is engagement. So I hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, being good to yourselves and each other. I hope you guys find time this week to go see a movie. Doesn't matter what it fucking is. Sometimes just going to the movies is good. Even if you're just seeing the Dracula boat movie, even if you're just seeing, you know, whatever they've got, man. If you guys want to go see the Paw Patrol trailer 4 times, just go. Bye.